opening brew pubs in Spain. I love that. That's super exciting. And not to say that Portland people aren't super exciting too, but it's always cool to get some international flavor with the group. So this is what we'll do tonight. I will kind of briefly go over kind of how my segment of this course is set up, give you an outline of what's expected of you guys this week and the other 2 weeks that I'll be teaching. And then I'll open it up for questions. So hopefully you guys have some questions. I'm going to be doing a lot of ad-libbing tonight. You know, we typically go an hour, probably maybe make it a little shorter this evening since I'm alone and I don't have a fun guest person that I get to ask all sorts of great questions to. So to give you guys a sense, so I posted that welcome message to all of you. Typically the way my weeks work, we start with talking about the foundation of your digital marketing, which really is your website, right? So week 3, I give you the introduction to digital strategy, the way I approach it, and then talk a little bit about your website. The next segment, we talk about search engine marketing, which is a lot of kind of paid search, organic search optimization. I always get questions on that. So we go kind of in depth on that for week 4. And then the final week, week 6, we talk about social media. So that's a really cool week with a lot of really fun stuff to do. And, you know, a lot goes into that week with social media being such kind of a hot topic over the last few years. And that's primarily what most of my work has been in over the past several years has been social media strategy, because that is what a lot of people want. And I think, you know, with craft brewing particularly, you guys are in a really good position to do cool stuff with social. So that's the best news about what you guys are doing, is that, you know, people are on social to socialize, and drinking and beer and, you know, craft beverages is a really social thing. So for this week, you guys have your video lectures. You'll have video lectures for all the weeks that I do. You know, I go through the PowerPoints and give you guys hopefully some good information on digital marketing. And then at the end of that, there's always a weekly discussion question. So the discussion question for this week is: find an example of an industry website that you feel is effective. And I know that some of you have been giving some cool examples of campaigns and that initial introduction, some cool stuff that people have been doing. So find a good website. Find something, you know, that you've seen, that you feel is effective, that appeals to you. And then tell me kind of from, you know, wearing your marketing hat, from the notes that I've given you for this week, dive into sort of the marketing experience. Like, what are the calls to action? Is the navigation user-friendly? What do you think is the main purpose of the website? What are the you know, website creators trying to do? What kind of experience are they trying to provide for you? And how have they successfully done that? So that's the discussion question that I'll have you guys post. And then, you know, starting to think about kind of your own. I mean, obviously the goal of this week is to really set you up so that you have a lot of knowledge to develop an effective website for your own business. So that's where I think, you know, questions come in. So I think, you know, I always get a ton of questions, and you know, maybe I'll have some of you guys raise your hand. I'll ask you guys a question for those of you that are here. I know a lot of you, most of you, in fact, are planning on opening some sort of brew pub in the future. So the chances are you probably don't have a website right now, but is anybody here that's on this conference, do any of you have a website right now for some sort of craft brewing entity that you either contribute to or responsible for? Anyone? So my guess is no one's responding, but my guess is that none of you do, which is actually great news, because that means that you're starting, you know, really at that wonderful kind of place where you just have the world's your oyster, right? So you get to pick your hosting platform, you get to pick, you know, your content management system, you get to set everything up from scratch, which is like really one of the best ways to go. So Bill says, not yet, thinking of getting one in a few weeks. Great, Bill, you're thinking of getting one in a few weeks. All right, what's your domain URL? So this is always the big question. And let's, you know what, just raise of hands. Do you guys think, would it be helpful if I just sort of go through setting up a website? Sometimes I don't, and I know everyone's levels in here with experience are a little bit different, but I would be happy to go through setting up a website, kind of soup to nuts, the hosting to buying the domain, et cetera, et cetera. If that wouldn't be helpful, we can talk about something else. Perfect. Yay. Okay, cool. Awesome. So the way, first and foremost, I always recommend, and as you guys will know from my lecture presentation, WordPress. WordPress it has become, but it is now the industry standard for websites. And my audio might be going out and in, but hopefully I'm back in. Everybody can hear me. So WordPress, long and short of it, use WordPress. All of my clients, big and small, use it. So I love it, and it's very, very easy. But that being said, really the first step is you need to have your domain, like your URL, right? So your .com, or .org, or whatever it's going to be. Typically, you're going to want that to be your brand name. So, hopefully your brand name is unique enough that you can buy your brand name or your brewpubname.com. That's not always the case, and sometimes you'll have to tag the name if it's pretty common with some other variation. Common in Portland, if you have a kind of a common business name, you might want to add like PDX, right, which is the airport code of Portland, to make it it'd be like, Lisa's Consulting PDX.com, for example, if Lisa's Consulting.com was taken, right? That might be an alternative. So of you guys that are here, maybe throw out, what are some, do you guys have ideas for URLs? Ron, Bedlam Farms Project, love it. I love it. That's perfect. That works. Yep, on WordPress. Yeah, good, Ron. That's really good. So basically, first you have to figure out what your URL is going to be. Find out if it's available. To find out if it's available, I use a tool called Nameboy. It's kind of a fun one. It allows you to put in variations of all different types of URLs to see if it's available. So that's kind of a good. I think it's nameboy.com. If not, you can just Google Nameboy and find out. So number one, if your URL is available, fantastic. Then the next thing you need to do is register it, right? Basically buy your domain. And I recommend that you buy your domain from the same company where you're going to host your website. So there's two steps, and sometimes that gets confusing for people trying to kind of start a website, right? The first step is you've got your URL, you have to own that, you've got to buy that, and then part two is once you own that, you've got to have a company host the information that's going to show on that website, right? So there's owning the domain or registering that and then hosting the website. And if it used to be that there were two separate companies back in the day that did this, and it was really hard and kind of confusing, but now most companies do both, right? Especially the big players like, like Media Temple or GoDaddy or Bluehost, or, there's like a myriad of very low cost registration and hosting options out there. I just recommend that you guys use the same company, right? So use one company for both things. I'm not a huge fan of GoDaddy for various reasons. Just from a developer standpoint, I think the interface isn't very user-friendly. I'm not a fan of Yahoo either. I use Media Temple. It's one of my favorite. Their customer service is outstanding. But with Media Temple, you pay, I think it's $20 a month for as many websites as you want, which for me, that made a lot of sense. But for you, if you're going to just have one website, $20 a month maybe may not make sense, right? Because you can host a website now for $5 a month, right? So find a big company. I think Bluehost is a good one if you want to go that route, and I think they have like the $5 a month deal. Bluehost, register, buy your domain, and then buy a hosting package. If you're going to have a small website, which I'm guessing most of you are, kind of a small 5 to 10 page website that doesn't have to do a whole lot of stuff, then the simple WordPress default install package, whatever from the hosting company, should be fine. If you're going to have an e-commerce website, then all of a sudden that's kind of a whole different, functionality that's going to kind of make things a little bit more complicated. Although WordPress can handle e-commerce just fine, you just may need a little bit more robust hosting package if you're going to do e-com. So that's part one. Does that make sense? Any questions on that process? Please, there are no bad questions. Type them in. I'm happy to answer anything that you guys just throw them at me. Go for it. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep rambling. Whew. But I think, again, I can kind of give you guys information, at least what people typically, my students have asked me in the past, and this is always a big one. So let's assume that you've got your URL, I love this bedlamfarmsproject.com, and you've got your default WordPress install, right? So let's assume that you've done all that. That's great. That's like half the battle. That's really cool. So then what you can do, as you probably, some of you may know, is there are thousands of WordPress themes available that help you extend the functionality of the WordPress site and make it unique to your own brand. And in fact, there's probably hundreds, frankly, of WordPress themes that are directly, related to craft brewing or brew pubs, for that matter. In fact, I can guarantee you that there are many themes out there that are built around that. Okay, Ron, that's where you're stuck. Yay! I love challenges. You guys feel free to throw your challenges up there. So tell me more. What are you stuck with, Ron? Give me some more information around where you're getting stuck, and we'll see if we can unstick you. But as I was saying, so find a theme, right? And in themes, I would go with a theme that has been created more recently than an older theme. That's going to mean if it's created more recently, then it's probably going to be responsive, meaning that it'll work on a mobile device, which is really important because probably well over half of the people who are going to be coming to your website are going to be on a mobile device. So you're not designing for desktop any longer, you're designing for tablets and phones. So you want to make sure that theme that you get is going to be responsive and give users a really good experience in mobile, on mobile devices. And most themes now will actually have a preview where you can kind of click on the button before you buy it and preview what it's going to look like on the various sizes. Oh, great. So you're stuck with how to apply them to the website. So it's pretty, once you find, and the thing is, there are a lot of free themes. I've worked with many free ones. Sometimes though, it actually is cost effective to buy a theme, again, especially a newer theme, because it'll be easier to work with. So, I come from a background of designing websites and doing a lot of web stuff, so I'm pretty savvy, but I know some of you guys here aren't. So getting a newer theme that's easier to work with is going to be really beneficial. So, the theme might cost $79 versus a free theme, but hey, at the end of the day, it's going to take you 5 hours to set up instead of 20 hours to set up based, on the difficulty level. So I vote, find a newer theme that was developed, 2014, 2015, as new as you can find. $79 to $100 is a very low price point for a website theme, so I think that's a fair price and something you hopefully could afford, right? And then once you find the theme, it's pretty easy to install. You can go using your WordPress interface. There is basically a search box that you can install the theme, and then go to the themes page in WordPress and activate it, and then it automatically just boom, it's there. It's really what you see is what you get, push button process now. It hasn't always been like that, but now it's pretty easy. I'm not sure if that's the information you wanted, Ron, if you were specifically trying to figure out how to install that theme once you got it. Or maybe you want more information on what makes a good theme, because that's a really good question. And I'll tell you, that's one of the hardest. So even with my really kind of big clients, they're starting with themes that they customize, right? They're not, many people now aren't developing completely customized WordPress sites. They typically will start with a theme and then customize it from there. So there are a few cool things that you want to think about and look for when you're thinking about a WordPress theme. And the main thing you want to think about is kind of the layout and the kind of functionality. So do you want 2 columns on the website, or do you want 3, right? So there's a couple of different layouts. You can have 1 column, or you can have a 2-column layout, sort of a main portion of the sidebar, or you can have a 3-column layout. Those types of structural components, where's the navigation bar? Is there a primary navigation and a secondary navigation, or is there just one navigation? Those things are kind of what you want to start thinking about when you're looking at themes, because those are the things that you're not going to necessarily be able to change. Within the theme, there's tons of things that you can change, of course. You're able to change the logo, you're able to change the colors, and various things, but the structural components are harder to change. So start thinking kind of about what you want your website to be structured like, and it's always really good to look at other examples. That's why for this week, the discussion question is find an effective website, because frankly, a key part of what you want to do when you start thinking about your own website is research and look at other people's websites, right? And kind of figure out what makes them good and really start breaking them down and analyzing them. And I can promise you that, probably the mother load of websites that you're going to be looking at are going to all be on WordPress. Most of them are. And sometimes if you go to the very bottom of a website, at the very bottom will say this website is powered by WordPress. Now, not all WordPress sites have that. You can easily remove that, so it doesn't say that. But some of them, it'll still be there. So you can pretty easily detect if it's a WordPress site or not. Okay, so that's WordPress. That's setting up a website, kind of just the back end kind of technical part of it. Most of my week 3 presentation is more about kind of what you want the website to do and what you want people to do once they get to the website. We call these calls to action. So what are the primary calls to action that you're going to want people to do when you get to your website? And again, kind of wearing your digital marketing hat, these are the kinds of things that you want to start thinking about, kind of, where are you leading that user? And most of you, if you're opening a brew pub or some sort of, boots on the ground, brick and mortar place, you're going to want people to come in, right? So you might be asking, well, what types of calls to action do I do online to get people in through the doors of my, brick and mortar establishment? And that's a really good question. And so things that you can start thinking about, maybe you're going to have events. Like events, I think, can be a really compelling reason to get people to come to your establishment. So maybe you're going to have special events and you have a monthly newsletter, and in order for people to get a special invite to the event or information on the event, or even maybe a discount for some sort of event, they have to subscribe to your newsletter. So that might be one kind of indirect call to action. You want them to come to your website, sign up for that newsletter, so that then they're going to get information on events that would bring them into your brew pub. So does that make sense to everyone? Is that I'm sort of going into the content that I talk about this week in a roundabout fashion. All right, questions, more questions. Anyone? Throw out some more challenges. I mean, you guys have been, this is you've been doing this craft brewing certificate program for a bit, where, I'd love to learn more about you guys, more about your challenges, successes, anything you want to throw out there. Totally open to hearing from you. Silence. A wall of silence. Anything? What else can I'm here for you guys. So, and please, I would love to provide some value with this live session. I mean, yes, you're getting to know me a little bit. My crazy, goofy personality. All right, newsletter updates, part of WordPress initial setup cost. Great question, Luke. Love it that you are thinking in the right direction. So let's talk about newsletter as part of the initial setup. So, there are a lot of ways you can do a newsletter, and there are some services out there that will include kind of a newsletter data collection component to what they're offering. Typically, though, with your default WordPress install, it's not. It may have a newsletter sign up form or box. Many templates will have that because it's so common that website owners want their visitors to sign up for a newsletter. But then ultimately what happens is you're going to have to kind of change and tweak the code in the widget, if you will, in that box so that it has your newsletter kind of back-end provider subscription information there. Typically you're going to want a different newsletter service, right? So a few good ones are Constant Contact. You guys might have heard of that already, but they're a big web newsletter provider. MailChimp is another really good one. I use MailChimp. They're very, very low cost, very easy to set up, and ultimately what they'll do for you, Constant Contact or MailChimp, they will help make it easy for you to embed code on your website so that someone can enter an email. They will then gather, MailChimp will take that email address, put it into a list in a database, right, on their website, save it for you, and then provide a really cool, sleek user interface to go in for you to manage your list, right, your email list. So it also, a service like MailChimp and Constant Contact will also have newsletter creation tools, right, that make it really easy to create really cool looking HTML designed email newsletters that you can then send out to your list. So I recommend, one of those two services if you're really interested in doing a newsletter. And I will add this too, that I think, every business, especially smaller businesses, need to have a newsletter. Why, you might ask? Because email, so email marketing, i.e. sending out something to someone's inbox, still, even though I know that cutting edge people say that people don't necessarily check their email anymore. The data says that in fact, email marketing is still one of the most effective channels that we have to get people to act. So if you can build up, and think about it, when was the last time you signed up for a newsletter? Different people do different things. I have actually, it's funny. So when I think about one of my key things that I need to do is get content, right? I am always looking for good, marketing strategy articles, content that I can share, whether I'm sharing it with the hashtag for our for this course, which is, hopefully you guys are following, hashtag PDXBCB. For example, I might find a great article that I want to tweet out, and I'm always looking for that stuff. So I have probably 5 or 10 really great newsletters that come to my inbox that provide that content for me, right? They push it directly to me. I don't have to look for it. And these are newsletters that come from publications that I trust, that are doing great content, and it comes right to my inbox. I love it. So, if your newsletter is providing valuable content for your audience, right, craft beer lovers, let's say, or brew pub enthusiasts, or people that are in your neck of the woods that love what you do, they're going to value getting that newsletter, especially if you put in cool stuff like exclusive invites to events, whatever, blah, blah, things that would be valuable to them, and then you have a direct link kind of right to their inbox, and that can be really valuable. Great, yay! I don't have to freeball it up here anymore. Kyle has a question. How would you rank the various forms of advertising, TV ads, radio, billboards, social, in terms of effective? Oh gosh, Kyle, what a hard question. Woo! So there's no easy button for that question. That's a great question. And again, you guys are really thinking in the right direction. I love that. What is the best way for me to answer that? And this is, you're going to learn this in the week 3 slide deck around the framework for strategy. So the very first thing that you want to think about when you're thinking about your digital marketing strategy are your objectives, right? What are your overall objectives? And so when you ask me that question, what is the most effective form of advertising, the first thing I would want to ask back to you is like, okay, what is your objective? What is your, specifically, so you have an overall business objective. Below that, you're going to have hopefully a marketing objective. They may be very similar, right? And then from your marketing objective, you're going to have a digital marketing objective. And very often for small businesses, the marketing objective and the digital marketing objective are the same, because you guys don't have a big budget. It's not like you have a huge, marketing department. So, typically with companies that are larger, they might have a marketing objective. And let's say their marketing objective is to increase, to increase revenue by 50% over the next 6 months, right? Something pretty straightforward. They just want to, the marketing team has been given this task that they need to increase, the revenue by 50% over the next 6 months or whatever, right? So then there might be various ways that the marketing team decides to do that. One of those ways might be print. Maybe they're going to take a print ad, right, or a television ad, or a billboard ad, as you even mentioned, Kyle. Those aren't necessarily considered digital marketing, right? Those are offline. So maybe they're going to say, hey, we're going to buy this big billboard. We're going to, hopefully the objective of the billboard is to increase our revenue by 25%. Whereas now, okay, so now we still have this 25% of this overall objective that we need to figure out. Well, let's say that we're going to try to have our digital marketing objective be to increase the revenues by 25%. So that's why, you know, sometimes you have the marketing objective here, and then you're going to have a digital marketing objective under that. But you guys, I don't overthink it, and you're going to be doing this for your homework. So you guys are getting a really cool little preview to the homework portion of this course right now. So hopefully this will be valuable to you. But typically the marketing objective and the digital marketing objective can be the same. So, you know, maybe your goal is like, hey, I want to get 100, I want to, you know, get 100 newsletter signups over the next month. And that's your objective, and the way you're going to do that is all online, right? So you're going to figure out that's all digital. So it's your digital marketing objective is to increase your email newsletter by, you know, 100%. Or if you're starting at 0 and you want 100 people, right? So I hope some of this is making sense. So anyway, back to your question, Kyle. So once you have your objective and you know that you're very clear-cut, time-sensitive, and measurable objective, then you can kind of start playing around with, all right, you know, how am I going to figure out which of these channels is going to bring me the best ROI? And, you know, it's not an easy question. And ultimately, you know, what I tend to believe is that you want to go with data. Like you definitely want to pilot a few programs that are set up in a way that you can track effectively, and then figure out what's working and do more of that instead of guessing, right? You can guess all you want. I mean, there are a few things you can do to improve your chances of launching an effective campaign. I think one of the most important things is really identifying your target. So having clear-cut audience segments for your various products. You know, so for example, if some of you are doing maybe a gluten-free cider, right? Then you might be like, okay, gluten-free cider. You know, one of our segments are going to be these gluten-free, you know, kind of healthy eating. Hipster types but they still want to have a good time, right? I mean, you can take that segment and run with it and get a really detailed persona, and then find out where are those people, right? Are those people listening to the radio? Are they driving around looking at billboards? Like, where are these hipster gluten-free people out, and how can I reach them? So I think the more you know about your audience, the more you know about who you're trying to reach, the more likely it is that you're going to reach them in the right place with the right message. I hope all that makes sense. And then, you know, again, do some measurement to try to figure out what was that objective. Is this ad meeting that objective to determine if it's effective or not? But that was a great question, Kyle. We have another question. When you are sending the newsletter or any information, which one is more effective? Email? Oh my God. Ugh. Well, okay. So are you talking about email or snail mail? Is that what we're talking about? Oh my golly. Okay, so yes, I am a digital marketer, and I don't like paper. I don't like paper. I'm one of those non-paper people. So for me, you know, direct mail is completely ineffective. Now I may not be your target audience. First of all, I can give you some pros and cons. And again, you know, test. I could sit here and pontificate, you know, about why I think email is going to be more effective than a direct mail. But ultimately, you know, the best way is to test it with your target to see which one's more effective. But I frankly would say, you know, email is probably the better way to go, at least initially, because it's going to be way cheaper. And you know, people have their email, you know, with them all the time via their phone. I'm in my email a lot, right? And I have it with me everywhere all the time. You know, my mailbox, that shit piles up. I don't, you know, I kind of get, you know, resentful of people that are sending me paper, too. So that's me. Good question. And I think, you know, I say, you just, in terms of, you know, again, because this is digital marketing, I vote email. Anyone else? Like, what else do you got? Give me some, who, raise your hand if you love direct mail, you love getting something in the mail from companies. Email, yeah, I agree, Kyle. I think email is the way to go. Any other questions? I feel like I hate talking this much, frankly. This is why I love to have a guest, because I let them talk and I ask them good questions. I love it that you guys are here tonight, and I appreciate your time so much. So again, in hopes of making this valuable, please throw me more questions. I know maybe we're kind of just, you know, getting started with the digital, so you guys may not have a whole lot of great questions yet, but you will. Oh, so he's saying that you delete emails. Yeah, no, that's true. Now, but think about it. If you what if you were getting a really great content-driven, newsletter that was talking about the latest techniques in brewing beer, and you found, or like, maybe it had the latest video tutorials on how to brew beer, or something else, whatever that might be for you, that you find extremely valuable. I mean, if you had something like that had information that you wanted, maybe you wouldn't delete those emails so quickly. Oh, what are some of my favorite marketing campaigns? Oh boy. Well, yeah, that's hard. I'll tell you why that's hard, Kyle. That's another really good question. And I'm going to ask, like, you guys that are on the call, please, like, you jump in, and I wish I could unmute you. I guess if anybody wants to talk, please, like, raise your hand, and I maybe can unmute you and you guys talk. But give your examples of some of your favorite marketing campaigns. I love to hear about that. So I don't mean to avoid your question, Kyle, but it's so hard to know because, again, wearing my there's two hats I wear, Kyle, when it comes to looking at marketing campaigns. There's the one of like, oh, like I actually like that ad. It's like, that's cool. Like I'm enjoying that. It's resonating. Like, okay, just on some emotional level, it hits me, right? And then there's this other part of me that like breaks it down from a professional standpoint of, oh, like who are they targeting? Am I the demographic for that? Like, how effective is that? Oh my God, that just totally like, did they just alienate that demographic? Like, is that offensive? Like, is that selling the product? Is that doing, again, what was their objective in creating that ad? Is it doing the job? And so it's, it's very difficult to know what the objective was, and if they're actually meeting that objective to know if the campaign has been effective or not. I can get all the warm fuzzies I want from an ad campaign, but if it's not meeting its objective, then it's garbage at the end of the day. So that's a tough one. Let's see, Luke. Any all-inclusive companies that handle front-end and back-end digital info management, and is it worth it? So let's see. Can you give me a little bit more details around what it's handling exactly? So there are quite a few. In fact, there's hundreds of tools out there that are meant to do various different things, all involving digital, right? So maybe give me just a little bit more information, Luke, around what your development and newsletter support. So you were thinking of like a go-to kind of, this company is gonna help with, it's gonna provide a website for you and a newsletter, and kind of like everything a small business might need on the digital end. Is that what you're kind of asking? That's sort of like the magic easy bullet that everybody wants. And I don't every small business owner might want that. I don't know of any companies that do a really good job with that, honestly. So the answer to that is there is no easy answer, and I don't know of any companies off the top of my head. Hire someone. So I mean, there are. So let me give you. There are sites like there are tools like Shopify. So I think they're more kind of soup to nuts e-commerce kind of sites. So like if you look at Shopify as an example, Shopify.com, they are mostly an e-commerce site. So they will help you set up your own online store. However, the cool thing about Shopify is that it also includes blogging component, and I believe they also have a newsletter component as well. So that's one of those, kind of all go-to solutions that, if you did for some reason want to sell something on your site, Shopify might be a cool solution. And they also have themes very similar to WordPress. But in terms of, non-e-commerce sites, they probably exist out there, Luke. And in fact, if you do some Googling and find some examples of companies that tend to help, with a website template and newsletter support, post them in the discussion forum. I'll go in and I can check them out and vet them for you. But yeah, let me know if you find any businesses that do that for a decent price point. Yeah, and hiring someone, that's always a really interesting, that's another question I get often is sort of, what do I need to know when I'm thinking about outsourcing some of this stuff? And I think that's a really good question. Just maybe pipe in, how many of you think at some point you might want to hire a contractor or specialist to do some of this for you because you don't have all the time in the world to do it? Or are most of you just complete do-it-yourselfers and you're thinking you're just going to do it all? So if you're a DIYer, type in do-it-yourself. If you're a contract person, type in hire someone. And let me just kind of get a feel. So Bill, you're a do-it-yourself. Great. Do-it-yourself. Good. So yeah. Yeah, that's what I figured. I think that's, and here, let me give you my hire someone, exactly. So let me give you my quick rundown on that. So I have a term, let me take a sip of water, that I use sometimes with some of my clients called, a false economy. Something, so I'm sure some of you have heard that term before, know what false economy is, but I'll say sometimes taking, the 20, 30, 40 hours it's going to take you to set up your website and your newsletter and all that stuff is a false economy where you could maybe hire a reasonable freelancer to do it for you in 5 hours. And, so it's kind of a time thing, right? And you need to figure out what's the best use of your time. If you have all the time in the world and, instead of watching television at night, your plan is to set up your website, great, fantastic. If on the other hand, you don't have all the time in the world and you are, frantically kind of just trying to kind of wrap your head around big business things that you're trying to do other than digital, which I'm sure digital is one very small component of your setting up your business, then I think that it can be a smart thing to hire someone. And there are a lot of really good articles. In fact, I wrote one, an article on kind of the questions to ask and what to think when you're hiring someone to do this kind of work. So there are a lot of great articles out there that can help you ask the right questions, because it's really important that you find the right person. And I'll tell you, there's the cost range really runs the gamut. So you have at the very higher end, you've got kind of branding agencies or digital marketing agencies. Agencies probably have the highest overhead and they're going to charge you the most money. So quite frankly, if you're all small business folks, I don't recommend even thinking about getting an agency to build your website and to do the digital marketing. You can kind of step down from an agency and go to a contractor, consultant, or freelancer. I tend to think that that's a much better value for your money. You've got people that are good, extremely skilled, that don't have the overhead of an agency, that may be willing to work with you around less hours. And agencies have a certain amount of hours and all this that they have to justify just to take a project on, whereas a contractor is much more likely going to spend maybe 5 hours with you and just really give you what you need at a fair price. So the other thing that you can always do, and as you know, I teach at Portland State University. I teach a different course too. I teach Intro to Digital Strategies with a lot of really smart students that are going through, and they all want to get hands-on experience. So another thing that you can think about, if you have a good kind of reputable digital marketing certification course or courses in your area, and a lot of you are in Portland, so you can always reach out to the PSC's digital marketing strategy course. But get the, yeah, right, student labor, right, exactly. They are eager to learn. They're gonna, sometimes they're very, very, sincere. They're gonna want to do a great job. They're looking to build up a portfolio. So, sometimes they'll do it for nothing. Sometimes they'll do it for a small stipend. So that can be kind of a good way to go too. It's 6:52. I've blathered on for almost 40 minutes. I can't believe it. Okay, Ron, how early in the development of one's business should one start creating a digital presence? Oh my God. What a great question, Ron. Again, that's a really good question, and this is another one that's a little bit tricky to answer. So I have a few thoughts on it. First of all, as soon as you are kind of 100% sure of your business name, get some placeholders, buy the URL, try to get the Twitter domain, all this stuff. So you can basically stake your claim on that name and get it as soon as you can. You don't have to develop anything there right away, but you want it to be there when you are ready to actually launch with something, right? So, so know the name as soon as you can and stake your claim and get your URL and all that stuff. In terms of, then the process of going from, business launch, it's a tough question because here's the thing. You want to make sure that when you are ready to go, when you are ready to kind of bring your digital presence to the forefront, to the public, right, that you have your shit together, to be blunt, and you have your stuff together, because you're really going to only get one chance, to have a first impression online. And if that first impression isn't good, in other words, if they come to your website and a link is broken, or they go to your Facebook page and it hasn't been updated in 3 weeks, or those types of, that's it. Like you've ruined your first impression. You've ruined that chance to kind of build that wonderful kind of brand experience in the mind of the user. So, I think you want to be careful to make sure that you've got your ducks in a row before you kind of put yourself out there. That being said, you can't wait until everything's perfect, because then that day will never come. You've got to at some point kind of take that leap off the cliff and just be ready to push the go button and go. What I will say, Ron, that you can do now, because I know a lot of you don't have businesses, you don't have a business right now, but what you can certainly start doing is positioning yourself as a thought leader in the craft brewing industry, and that can be done with your own name. And if you think about it, if all of you are going to be the face of your business, then it's going to behoove you to start building up your own kind of professional, personal digital presence in this industry. So you can do that by, getting a LinkedIn account, optimizing it around craft brewing, kind of your craft brewing experience. I highly recommend, getting on social with Facebook and Twitter, making sure that those things are speaking to your love of craft brewing, right? Writing some articles. I mean, you guys are learning some really cool stuff. So, write. Like, if you have any penchant for writing, and it doesn't have to be the written word either. I'll say it now. I mean, you can, maybe writing's not your thing, but you like doing amateur video, or maybe you like, maybe you're a designer and kind of more creative, and you want to do like an infographic. I mean, whatever. There's like so many cool, easy ways to do content now, like other than a blog post. But start thinking about producing your own content around what you're learning, around what drives you, what makes you passionate about what you do, and publish it. Publish it out there, and digitally presenting and publishing that stuff is going to help build your own digital footprint, so that when the day does come that you're starting your own business, hopefully you'll already have kind of a naturally built up community, if you will, of people who are going to be listening to you, kind of paying attention to you, and interested in what you're doing. And a really good place to start with all of that is, hey, like, who's doing kind of what you want to do, where you're doing it, who's in your area right now who has a popular brew pub, and what are they doing, and get involved with that conversation. I highly recommend that you don't see these people as direct competition, but as partners. There's an opportunity there to partner, to bring goodwill, like, go to their blogs, like, comment on their stuff, share their stuff, meet those people, and kind of generously be part of the online world that you're gonna kind of take on. So that's my soapbox. Let's see. Kyle, definitely be wary when hiring someone. Yeah, oh boy, hired a local company to set up our website months ago, and they've been giving us the runaround. Oh no, oh, that's too bad, Kyle. Yeah, I hear that a lot, right? These smaller companies, sometimes they don't provide the best value. So good advice. You definitely want to be careful when you're hiring someone to do that kind of work. Here's a question from Ron. Would you think a join us in our journey story as a way to create content would be a good way to keep things going while we develop our brand business? Yeah, Ron, I think that could be, especially if you have a really good story to tell. What is your story? And what is the journey that I'm going on? And if you have something interesting about that, or if you could make it interesting for the people that you're considering as your target audience, I think that would be kind of a cool thing. I mean, you've seen a lot of stories now about, small business owners who are, going on Kickstarter, and I think they have, all these places, right, where you can have people donate money to help get your dream started. we're in a culture now where people are coming together in ways that they never have before, and crowdsourcing all sorts of things, whether it be crowdsourcing funds to start a business or crowdsourcing content or like whatever. So that mindset, is I think that would be a great foundation for some really compelling online content, Ron. I think that's a cool idea. What do you think is the best part of the day to send out an online newsletter to increase the chances of receivers spending enough time reading it? Oh, yeah, Bill. Bill says, I know I hate it when I get emails in the middle of the night. Oh, no. Turn that iPad off, Bill. Turn it off. Turn it off. I sleep with my phone by my bed, too. So here's the question about that, about the newsletter thing. So I would test it. And so, most newsletter platforms now worth their salt, even the less expensive ones, like smaller ones like Constant Contact and MailChimp, they have optimization tools that will actually help you just determine kind of the best time to send an email. So I say test it and see. It depends. I'm not your user. Try to really get into the head of the people that you're reaching. Are you reaching out to restaurant industry folks, right? I mean, I used to deal with a lot of people that worked in restaurants back in the day, and they were just completely, and if they did a lunch service or a dinner service, they're completely unavailable during their rush lunch and their dinner rush. So I couldn't reach them via email or phone during that time. And if I tried, it was, they were busy trying to take care of customers. So in that scenario, the time that I send the email might be better to do in early morning when they're not having the lunch thing, or maybe even later in the evening because they get home after a busy night shift and that's when they check their email. But that's not everybody. So again, whenever, many of these questions around, like frequency, how often should I send social media updates? When should I send? So much of that comes into the lifestyle and the habits of your very specific end user. And I can't tell you enough, you can't have a campaign that's for everybody. And I know that it's really tempting, especially as you're starting. This is like one of the best pieces of advice that I can give you guys right here. Like, this is it. This is the key thing. The smaller your business is, and you all are small, the more targeted and the smaller your user segment has to be in order for you to succeed, period. And I know that you guys, that is the golden ticket. And I know that everybody wants to do the opposite. Like, oh my God, I'm a small business. I can't turn everybody off. I want everybody coming in through the doors. No. It goes contrary to kind of what you feel you need to do. But trust me, hone in, because if you can be the best person at servicing your little niche, that's how you'll succeed. So that's my word of wisdom for the night, if you want to call it that, whatever. I really believe that. So and so when you ask these questions, keep thinking, okay, what is that magic target? Like, who are they? What are they doing? What are their hours? And when can I effectively reach them? I hope that helps answer your question. Yeah, early morning. Okay. Oh, Luke, my God, you guys are hilarious. Well, it's 7 o'clock. I know I get started a little bit late. I can stick around for another question or two. Any more questions? Again, I can't apologize enough around Stoney not being here. I was so excited to bring him to you guys, and I apologize that he was not here tonight. And as I said, please kind of keep a lookout for an update. I will reach out to him and see if we can't reschedule for him. But in the what I do have definitely on the docket for the week 6 live session, I've got Carrie Finsand, who has been here before. He founded Tap Lister, so he's sort of my beer expert, if you will. He also is a social media whiz. And he always does a really good job giving what I would, craft brewing, beer specific marketing advice during the live session. So make sure that you're here for that one with Carrie, and it'll be the last week 6 of this course. And I think Nate, the co-teacher, will step in and be there too as we kind of wrap things up together. So one more chance for questions before I go and walk my dog and have dinner. No? All right, guys. So I want to thank you all so much. It was so nice meeting you virtually. Cool. I'm glad the hour flew by. Yay! Oh, I wish I could be at the happy hour, Kyle. Unfortunately, I had something, another appointment. I can't make it. I apologize. I would love to see everyone face to face. Have a couple beers for me though, will ya? And I will be back. Again, you'll get my annoying voice over my video lectures for the next few weeks. Yeah, I do. And I clap when I laugh, and I snort when I laugh too. So, all right, guys. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you. Have an amazing night and a really good week. Post your questions. If you have any questions about the content, you probably will post them in the discussion forum, and I'll be happy to answer all of those for you guys. All right? All right. Bye.